I grew up watching my dad play Mass Effect on our 360 for hours and hours and hours on end. He'd play late into the night after work, and it was the only time he'd let me stay up past my bedtime, just to watch him play. This was when the game first released for the system. Jump forward years later, and I've sat with him and watched him play and beat all 3 games. Helped him make the toughest decisions, although some choices were certainly easier than others. Cheered with him when we met up with Liara again in 2 and 3. Did a little mini party dance with him when we watched him take Grunt to Tachanka to meet with Urdnot Rex, who was his favorite, by the way, and so many other adventures. Skip forward another couple years, and the Xbox 360 has long since been passed on to me and put into my room so that I could play my own games, watch Netflix, etc., etc. I'm sicker than I've ever been with a ruptured eardrum and ruined immune system, and I'm constantly trying not to puke even a cracker up into my trash can. I was miserable. My dad comes into the room and gives me some medicine to help with my ever-growing fever, and then he looks to my Xbox, seeing me play the same old games over again. He says, "Why don't you fire up Mass Effect?" And I say, "Why? So I can watch you play?" He says, "No, so I can watch you play." My head whips to his direction to look at him as if he'd spouted some taboo, some unspoken curse. He looks at me and asks what I was waiting for. I get over the initial shock that he was giving me permission to play this game at age 15 or 16. Normally, my parents had been pretty strict about letting me play these kinds of games until I was at least 16 or 17 years old. So I get over the shock, and I go into my game library, and I fire the game up. It loads in, and the title screen shows up, and then our song plays. My own thoughts were pretty scattered, considering I hadn't heard this song in a fairly long time. Curious to see what his reaction was in that moment, hearing it after so long, I looked to him. His eyes were watering ever so slightly. He asks, "Well, what are you waiting for? Go on, start it up." Being sick suddenly wasn't so bad that winter break. It is October 30th, 2019. I get an email saying that some items on my Steam wishlist have been on sale. To say I was surprised to see Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 wouldn't be enough. I was elated. I jumped down from my bunk bed in my dorm and I rushed to my computer and I turned it on and I get the games as soon as I could. I wasn't able to bring my Xbox 360 with me to the college dorm, and I don't get to be home often, so I was very excited that my favorite games of all time were on sale and easily accessible to me. I purchased the games quickly, asking for Dad to send me a couple extra dollars to account for tax. He sends it only after being assured I've been doing well in school, of course. The download begins straight away, and I let them both finish before I have to head to my class. The time passes like breeze through the trees on a sunny autumn day, brisk but not unpleasant. Quickly heading back to my dorm after grabbing some lunch, I open my Steam library and start up Mass Effect without hesitation. It loads in and the title screen shows up. And then our song plays. I find myself suddenly overwhelmed with emotion without even realizing what had just happened in my brain. I'm crying, alone in my dorm, simply because a simple song had begun to play after so long of not hearing its sweet melody. I take a picture of the title screen and send it to my dad. He calls me immediately and we reminisce about our favorite moments of the game. And of course how Liara and Urdnot Rex are still the best in his books, and that Turians aren't as cool as Solarians to him, despite my efforts to assert that Garrus is the greatest of all time, and the Turians as a race are in fact very, very cool. After the phone call ends, I sit in silence, the breeze outside my dorm window gentle and reminding. The tears come and fall again as the character is complete, and the voices of Captain Anderson and Admiral Hackett fill my ears. And so my nostalgia trip begins.